So, welcome. I'm here with Loretta Wollering. Welcome. This is a gift of questions, and I have some of my questions here, and I'll think of others as we go.
Yeah, sure.
And the first one I'd like to ask is, how did we meet?
How did we meet? Well,
Yeah.
through Tai Chi.
Through Tai Chi.
Through Tai Chi. Through our activities in Tai Chi. And I think it's really interesting because I think that's how I've met a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of people that are an influence on me and an influence in how I think and what I do and how I love to share and socialize. And it's, Tai Chi.
Yeah, so I had the same
Timeless
experience.
and placeless, and it's Tai Chi.
If somebody, do you know a cobbler? Yeah, in the Tai Chi class, there's a cobbler. And do you know any astronomers? Yeah, I know two from Tai Chi over the.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like I don't need like the yellow pages or Google. Like if there's something I need, I think I know a lady, I know a guy. Yeah, we used to. I see them every year at the Tai Chi thing. And it's like this amazing community, and I find that people come into Tai Chi for their reasons. Like self-defense or health or stress relief or something. But I find like they stay in it because of the family, their community. Okay, so here's a tougher question. Who are you? Not what are you, but who are you?
Yeah, of course the canned answer for that is I'm Loretta Wollering.
Right, or here's my career. But who are you? How would you say it? Not even knowing who you're speaking to,
who I
might
am.
see this.
Okay, well I'm going to go by basically,
Sure.
let's say I landed on an island somewhere and I lost memory of everything.
Great.
All the energies, the DNA, the genetics, the past, the present, that creates me. I'd say I'm a seeker. I'm an analyzer.
That's how you ended up on that island.
There you go. Yes, and islands. I like to do a lot of things by myself. I'm a being who's very independent, but also very interested in connection. I believe, I guess I can really say who I am is also my beliefs. So that really categorizes you.
And do those feel changing over the years, or do they feel pretty firm?
Yeah, I'm a little pieces, yes, but on the overall algorithm of what is
right.
me, I think it's just
there
me.
feels like there's some firmament to your belief.
Yes. And what I value and what I do, and I'm a seeker, and I guess a lot of everything I do is always trying to add to my knowledge, add to my experiences, add to my growth, and then I think also, which is a common human drive, is to also want to share that.
Yeah.
To want to outwardly express that.
But
so
on your terms to
it.
some extent, because being an introvert,
Yeah.
like when I have the wherewithal to share it, I'm ready.
Yeah, that's just the sort of the method of how. Yeah.
It's interesting. I'm reminded of this song, and in the song they kind of list a few different types of people that are in this story, like robbers and thieves and priests and carpenters. I don't know, just different. They list 5 things, and then at the end of the sentence, as you hear it, you're like, they're different. Oh, now they've added that type of person, and then they finish it with seekers all, and it's like, oh, I see how they're all
I think we
connected.
kind of all are
Yeah.
in some way.
Yeah.
And sometimes maybe we have more clarity of it is what we're seeking, and sometimes we just have some drive and we don't really know why.
Right.
Some of it has to do with survival instinct. Some of it has to do maybe with almost like Maslow's pyramid, like that going into that spiritual growth. Maybe something has to do with the fact that time really isn't so linear that we think it is. And maybe there's something about that we're seeking through it or in it. I think that affects.
And sometimes that seeking really is just more of a direction. I don't even know what's over there. I just know I need to head in this direction in my life.
Yeah.
Like I've known people that are like, I know somehow I have to do healing, but they haven't, they're younger, they haven't really reached, they don't have any experience, but they just somehow know that's what it is. I know for me, when I was very young, I knew I was going to be a teacher.
Yes.
And then the only problem was I need to learn something so I could teach it, there was that little problem. But I just knew before I had something to teach that I would end up teaching. Like I just somehow couldn't explain it, and that felt like this seeking, this drive that I couldn't really tell you much about, apart from I I know my role is to help people figure out their role, and with any luck I'll be good at it, and I'll have a chance to learn something. And at that time I had no idea what it might be. Is it architecture? Just I guess they're veterinarian, astronaut, the standard ones, so that's
yeah, that happened to me too. I came more from a scientific field, and then here I am in Tai Chi, and now I'm actually starting to see where a lot of these things blend, where the physics and metaphysics start to blend. Yeah, it's very interesting.
That's always beautiful to me, And then for me, like the moment somebody sees where they're blending, I'm like, that's Taoism. Like that's the whole thing. It's just ancient, but So one question I like to give people is give you the opportunity to tell us the story of you meeting your teacher.
Okay. Well, it was pretty much by accident, and when I say accident, I mean really, literally, truly an accident. I had always wanted to study something like martial arts from a young age on, and I hadn't had the opportunity. The reason was I always felt a little clumsy. I never did great in gym class. I never was really the best in dance or anything, but I felt like, why can't I move better? Why is it so hard for me? Why am I so physically clumsy? And then I thought, martial arts is great because it's this exercise, but then I was really intrigued by the idea that there's this philosophy behind it.
Deeper.
Yeah, and that it's also practical. So I had originally started a Japanese martial art, and then I sustained a knee injury from that. And I had heard of Tai Chi.
What was the Japanese art?
It was jiu-jitsu.
Jiu-jitsu?
Yeah. And I had quite a knee injury from that. And I heard that Tai Chi, this was way back before the internet and before Tai Chi was even known. I heard something
where you're
about
lucky to overhear somebody, and don't even know how to spell it.
And I heard that it was healing, but it also had that Eastern background and that martial arts background. And I was just learning really what was Taoism. And so, make a long story short, I found a class at my university, and then I went back to live with my folks that summer, and I was really going stir crazy, and I went into the phone book, and I was looking for something karate, martial arts, something, and I saw a Tai Chi farm. I said, isn't that weird place in Warwick on Route 94?
Isn't that hippie place?
Yeah, it was like a hippie farm, or like maybe they sold organic fruit, because it was so nondescript. It just had this big Tai Chi diagram, the yin and the yang, and it said Tai Chi farm. And I thought,
then at that time, even
weird.
The fact that it says Tai Chi doesn't really tell people much, because they don't yet know what that is.
Yeah, and it was just very bizarre. And it was on an old farm property where, coincidentally, my father had purchased a gun from the gunsmith there, who had previously lived there, and passed. Really? So there's all these weird connections through time. Yeah. And my mom had bought something like a crock or something when they had a yard sale before they sold the property to guess who? My teacher, Master Jotun Wa. So that was already planted in my house before I was even born, I think.
That is so
really
cool.
Really weird, or around the when I was a kid or something like that.
And that crock pot thing is like a slow cooker, right?
Oh no, it's just a
just a crock pot,
piece of pottery.
Yeah, right.
And it's just really weird things like that. So I was like, that place. And I pulled up and they did Tai Chi, and then I went there, and long story short, one time I met my teacher. He wrote down the Tai Chi diagram. He took a stick and he wrote it in the dirt.
Yeah.
And I kept looking at him. I'm like, how is this, this Chinese person here in the middle of this really waspy place, and how nobody knows about him, and how did he get here? And it was just really this bizarre stuff that kept running through my head. But that's how I met him.
I like that memory of the visual.
I just remember that first day,
and
he drew it on the dirt road, and he was explaining, the coiling and all this, and how it was like the Tai Chi anyhow.
The farm that I live on and teach on now, a similar thing where there's a great birch tree, unusual birch tree. And before I had moved there or ever been there, my teacher had been married under that tree.
Wow, how weird. Isn't it?
I know.
And then
everybody's telling me, like, of course, or it's meant to be, or
time is just.
It's such an amazing thing. So it's this cool thing to look out and see that every day, and see that she had this whole experience here that was meaningful. So the other way I like to ask this question, which I asked second, as you're seeing now, is I'd like to hear the story of you meeting your teacher, the way that you think your teacher would tell it. Because my story of meeting my teacher is this amazing thing with this gifted person and amazing and changed my life, and his is like, I don't know, didn't you come into one of those? I think I remember seeing it about. Look, it's a little humbling for me because it's this big momentous moment in my life. But for him, he's like, yeah, I had a group of people and you started with them, and but just the idea is to give you that question is to get you to see it from your teacher's point of view, and you probably told that story a lot, but maybe haven't thought of it from their point of view. What did it seem like to you? Were you just
well, he kind of told me.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, I feel very funny speaking for people, especially when they're passed. Mm-hmm. When they've passed away.
Well, this is just your idea of how you think they saw the story.
I think he just was glad
what they thought of you first.
Because he liked my background because he had a mathematical background and I had a scientific sort of mind, the background. So he, and he liked that I was just very enthused with it. And then I think he just kept thinking like, oh, this is good, this is the right, and then this shows another good, okay, and this is good, and and then this is good, and we match on this arrow, and then this matches this that I like in a student, this matches that, and I think that's really, if I were to put it in words, which is hard to put in words, I think that's probably how I would best explain.
No, that's really cool though. Yeah, it's just to put yourself in their point of view, which is your point of view. I tell stories about my teacher me, or how would they think me? They might have thought of me as a jerk or a brat, or and I just think, it's this magical experience of Taoism or something.
And to me, reality is very slippery. So it's, if I pin that down as an answer, it maybe could change.
Sure. Yeah.
I don't know.
Absolutely. So, how do you define your art? Sure. That's why I say your art, because you might have a few things, and that's the one you want to.
Okay.
So Tai Chi Chuan is your art.
I think so.
Yeah. Or we're trying.
Art to me is something that connects past just all the analytical. I have a very analytical mind, and that really goes past that, and it helps you to understand that there is more. I think art with me, the Tai Chi is my art, really. And there's other things I do, but that's really my main art. It's how to connect past all the sort of third dimensional limitations that we have in this world, and to, what is creativity? Sometimes it's totally useless. Sometimes it serves no quote unquote.
It's non-functional.
Purpose. Yeah, as we would define function in this world. It doesn't feed you, it doesn't give you shelter, it doesn't. It's just this like thing, So, but I think there's value to that because it colors your spirit.
Ooh.
It colors your mind.
Colors your spirit.
Yeah.
I really like though that you've kind of defined Tai Chi here, today. I'm sure tomorrow you can define it differently as this creative expression of a spirit.
It has its rules.
Yeah.
It has its methodologies but once you operate within that, just like a paintbrush and a piece of paper has its own characteristics and methodologies, but what you create with that is really up to you.
For sure. Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. I like that. So what lesson have you learned and relearned over the years more than ever?
Oh, well.
Like, here this is again. I thought I had it, and here I need to learn it again.
I think a lot of my lesson in life, it seems to be the fact, this life, or however you want to put it, is a lot of like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Like, it's really not necessarily.
And that's you speaking to yourself. What are you going to do?
Or whatever. Lesson. Really what other people think or what other people are doing, not looking for that approval or that opinion, not looking even for that necessarily guidance or agreement. Sometimes it's a lot of what are you going to do now? Sort of like and then another one was something that happened in my dream once, and I know that I shared this with my teacher, and it happens. It's something about learn to forget. Learn to forget. So we always learn to remember, and we work on remembering, and we focus on, even if you, let's say you go through trauma and you go through psychotherapy, you're always remembering this or
and that
and
one
it gives you the space that
one
you
you have to
recreate.
return to
Yeah,
get. Like
yeah.
that's like I thought I had this for a while, and here it
and
comes
even
again.
in art, even
Yeah.
what I learned in Tai Chi, a lot of things I learned, then I have to forget how I thought they should be, or how I thought it was correct, and then, because somebody will show me, oh, this works, or this doesn't work, and I'll go, oh, jeez, and then I have to learn to forget that, or learn even to forget habitual ways of holding myself, and that's on the physical level, but I think it also echoes back into the metaphysical
Without doubt,
level as
yeah,
well.
for sure.
Yeah.
Some of my favorite lessons are where I'm, in front of the students and I'm sharing something, and I get to share how I had this wrong for years.
Yeah.
And maybe it humanizes me, or it's funny for them, or whatever it is, or self-deprecating, which is not fine. But I really like it because it helps me remember, like, I'm not some master, I don't have this, and this is this goofy story, and especially when I tell it how obvious it is, but I still had it wrong for 10 years. And then that hopefully gives them some freedom to mess up.
Yeah.
And I'm trying this.
People are afraid of that.
Yeah.
People are so afraid of, and that's what I see, and that's something I'm really concerned about, is that, people are so afraid to just take that box off themselves, and it's like, just fun, just try. And so what? And if somebody laughs at you, well, so what? Like they're the one who's disempowered by doing that, because it's also doing it to themselves.
That's right.
So, and so just try, and just, try, and it's growth. That's how all the greatest masters of anything, inventors, writers,
It's failure
anything.
upon failure upon failure.
Scientists, everyone, anyone who's done anything great in this entire planet, or has been able to gift that back to humanity, has learned that that's what they have to do, and that it's okay to keep correcting,
I'll
redoing,
more often say, when I'm introducing something, like, here's where I'm at. Here's what I'm currently thinking. As opposed to the answer is, or the definition of something is. It's just like even when I asked you for that definition, it's like, well, that's just today where you're at. I'm sure after your next workshop, you're like, oh, here's really what Tai Chi, and that's great, And I feel like if I say it that way to students, it gives them a little bit of freedom not to feel like when something is learned, it's in a permanent box and will never, because then you got some freedom and you start to learn something, but then you're in another box, you're in another shackle. And I don't know, is that any better to switch prison cells? I mean, it's for a moment, it's a little different and interesting, but you're still stuck. And I'd rather have some freedom of flow, with all of this stuff. Do you recall a time your teacher cried?
Almost.
Almost, yeah.
From what I remember, well, he went through a lot. He survived problems with World War II, Japanese occupation, and unfortunately, his parents were didn't want to go or something, and they were. His father was in the former Chinese government, and they were kind of well-to-do.
And maybe they felt like they had some resources to stay.
Well, I can't speak for that, but something happened where they stayed, they didn't want to go.
I can't imagine at that age deciding to go, like a whole new country,
that happens a lot.
It's really
and he had he had a photo of his mother and father, a black and white photo that he loved and he cherished and kept in his place. And there was a letter that his mom wrote or something, the last thing he ever heard, and it was really sad. He was telling me it was about how terrible things got. And I mean, he never actually verbalized it, because I would ask him, well, what happened? He said, well, basically the communists killed them. I think they were probably put in a work camp, and that was the time when he really couldn't even put it in words. And he was just like he was going to cry. So that really, really, really bothered him. And I know he worked hard to really let go of that, and to let go of any prejudices or hate or bitterness. And he really did. He let go of that.
And that generally doesn't happen by mistake. You have to work to make that happen. That's a really some deep work. And I'm sure it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back kind of work as well. That's the reason that I asked that question is that we're talking about martial arts, and we all have seen movies, so we know teachers don't cry. They're just mean and stern and great. And I think really the truth is that the term Shifu has this sense of being a father.
Yeah.
You know, a guiding hand, a familiar, protective, leading. Yeah. And what we find, which we touched on earlier, is that in these arts we end up with families.
Yes.
And there's a whole lot more going on than Tuesday at 7 p.m. we do some form, and I'll see you next week. Some of the things that are going on, hello. Some of the things that are going on are family dynamics. And we do see our teachers as strong and know-it-alls and really great in many ways, but we also, in our time, I think we all end up with these, oh, they're human.
And well, there's two. There's a front, and then there's a back.
Yes, exactly.
You know, we always see the front when we speak, when we always see the front, but there's a back.
Yeah.
And there can't be a front without a back.
Yes, and I think because these relationships are so richly knitted together, it's not just I see you on Tuesdays and Saturday mornings. There's a whole life. You go to each other's weddings. You support each other when you're sick. You know, when I need an astronomer, I call you. You know, I don't know when I need maybe an astrologer. And so there's so much to it. Just to tell the story of, hey, my teacher, cried or was human in some way, helps people understand. Like, okay, we're all human. No matter how awesome their form is, that application is on, they're human. Okay, so this is a fun one because it's really, really wide open. What's your favorite aspect of life? Just here you are. There's the filmmaker walking in front of the camera.
Big camera.
What's your favorite? I mean, here you are. You're born into this identity, into this body, into this karma, into this presence. Yeah. So, what's your favorite aspect of just all of this?
All of this.
Or what comes to mind now? Of course,
I feel very fortunate that I am where I am. I think, really learning, having gratitude for a lot of things, how to really use the opportunities in this life to grow.
Yeah.
And when I say opportunities, I mean anything, really, like understanding, if you hurt your knee, okay, how can I grow from that? If I had a failure, how can I, what does this teach me? So I think learning, I think a lot of it is to do with learning, and freedom is also really important to me, seeking freedom, and the more I learn about it, a lot of it, the freedom is inside your mind. Now, of course, that's easy to say. I mean, if you're a very poor person living in a terribly wealthy area, horrible dictatorship, and you're just scratching just to find some roots to eat, or you're working 14 hours a day in a factory, that's all nice to say that, but I think a person would be very blessed if they could somehow in their mind know that this is all permanent, and if they could find some sort of happiness or peace even in those dire situations, and that's really what I'm trying to learn, is even in situations when you're really alone or really challenged or something's really dark, how to really find that freedom in there, past that, how to really find the light, and knowing that you, in some ways, create a lot of your own reality by the way you think, and the way that influences what things you do, what steps you take, what actions you take.
What is pain?
Pain is something you don't like.
It's what I'm putting you through right now.
No, I like this. This is pleasure. Pain is like really anything aversive. To me, anything you don't, a state you don't want to be in, a thing you don't want to experience, I would say is pain. It can be really anything.
So, in order to have pain, do you have to establish a preference in order to experience the aversiveness? Is that like a prerequisite to it?
Well, I mean, there's some people that like what the normal people, or normal, that's really
right. The average person,
the mass, we call, then we call them masochists.
Yeah. Right.
So, but pain is something. It could be a signal. It could be a signal that something needs to change. Like in your body when you have pain, it's like either something going wrong, or if your body's asking you, you've got to change something. I need something to change. I need something to change, or it's going to start causing problems.
Right.
So in that case, pain is something But there's also pain where you're lifting weights. I feel the pain, but that's also growth. You don't like it, but it's a signal to you that you can't push it too far. respect. You know, it tells you it's information.
Mm-hmm.
Pain is information. It's how you analyze that information and what you do with it.
Mm.
You know, pain in and of itself is really just information.
It's information,
Yeah.
right? And it's information that I have an opinion about, like an aversive opinion.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So
and
not all information is pain, but all pain is information.
Yeah, and I think some of it's hardwired, the way our
Uh-huh.
nervous system is, our body, and some of it is learned.
Mm.
Yeah. They did a study once, housekeepers, and I forget the
Uh-huh.
study, but this, you know, you can Google this, where they were taught to look at every single thing they did was exercise, and the person showed them how it was exercise, and then the other housekeepers were just left alone, and then another bunch of housekeepers, I think they were allowed to express, and I hated doing this, and I hated doing that, and the people that were taught how this is exercise, they gained muscle mass, they lost weight, just
Really?
from the change in their mind, even though they had been
Right.
doing this the whole time. So maybe it made subtle differences in how they were doing it. So that's, you know, that's
Yeah.
learned pain.
Yeah,
You know, that's a learned pain. Or maybe the pain they were feeling, then their body and
It's like it also providing a framework for the experience.
Yeah,
that I
And it
understood it
manifests
this way.
differently.
Yeah, and so really like physiologically manifested.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah.
So what have you found to be your best but least well followed advice to your students? And this is live streaming to your students right now.
Oh, you better listen now. Really?
Because I know I find myself repeating certain things, and I'm like, but that was the really good, I mean, that's the best I can do, and you're not doing that, you know. And I know that I'm also a student, so it's not like they're at fault and I'm not, but this is just a question about...
in terms of just really technique and practice, and this is something that I learned from Master Joe, is really the use of the dantian with the pulling in and the pushing in, the compressions, expansions. I mean, I think that really is the key. I can't explain it all. I think in the system I've learned, at least, and I've experienced, that's the most powerful.
And people get
It gets
distracted
lost.
from it, and
Yeah, because it's too simple. It's too basic. It doesn't show. It's easy to forget.
and it's not diaphragmatic breathing.
No,
it's engaging of the dantian, the lower
that's
dantian.
the whole, the compressions and you're not breathing. And a lot of people, oh, it's weird.
Right. Right.
Do this. They don't really even give it a chance, in my opinion. And there's even times when I forget. Because it is so easy to forget. So I forget it too. And then that's really the thing that cured me of Crohn's disease. That's supposed to be impossible to cure.
Yeah.
You know, he swore that that's what kept his youthfulness and his energy. But anyhow, that's the thing that I,
No, that's really good. Yeah. If you could have any superpower,
oh dear.
besides getting your students to breathe from the dantian, that you're willing to have on tape. What do you think?
If I could have any superpower, that's
I just
really
find
rough
this is
one.
always so illuminating about
I think that I could travel through time.
travel through time. Forward and back, or just one direction?
Forward and back, travel through time.
And return over and over.
Yeah, I think that's really immortality in the sense of this world. Maybe that's what does happen once you die. I don't know. But in the physical world, being in a physical self or having that physical vehicle still, I would say that. Because, oh man,
Going through time, that's pretty cool.
It can make things too perfect that I'd probably regret it. And then I'd have some other
Where's
thing.
the fun?
Then I'd probably say, oh, I don't want to be able to do this,
I just have a couple more. I think this is great.
Sure.
So what I'd love for you to do is show us a bow that you use and teach it to me.
Okay, well, we use just the typical bow training.
Great.
And to me, it can mean namaste, almost the same thing. It's non-verbal communication. So we make a fist in the right hand, and then we tap it with the left. So here's the martial. I come in peace and scholarship.
And your feet are pretty well together.
Yeah, they're just sort of together.
Out.
And you look at the person. You don't look in their eyes. You look at them, and you just
look the heart center or so.
Yep. And sometimes I teach if you're holding an item, then you just use one hand. So almost like a group.
Yep.
And we really like using it. I think it builds a good atmosphere, good energy.
And you that a couple times, or were you just demonstrating it a couple times?
Once.
Just yeah. So
when we work with each other,
right,
we say
that's
hello.
that's the vow, and it
we
might be
open
this.
that.
Oh, thank you. That means so
Well,
much to
thank
me.
you,
That's
see?
really good. Yeah.
You're
And then I do it all wrong.
No, you do it your way, and that's right
That's
for
great,
you.
yes.
I know what it means, but you know, I don't,
Yeah, exactly. It's
Yeah.
you're right.
people have different accents in different parts of the country.
Has the why of your practice changed over the years?
Okay.
Like I find that when people come in, I have to sign their business and tell me your address and that kind of a thing, and then I also ask like, why are you here? Like, is it spiritual growth? Is it
Right.
self-confidence, or whatever the things are? And then later I ask them again, and it almost always changes. The reason they come to this school is different than the reasons that they stay.
Yes.
And it's so interesting for me to see, like, oh, you're staying for the community of it, or because now you're into the self-defense, or now you're finally into the healing. And the first things you checked off were self-defense, self-confidence, and getting strong. And then 3 years later, you're like learning the healing and getting the breathing right and stress relief. And I'm like, oh, that's so great.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like to find out, like, how has the why of what you're doing shifted?
Well, like when I was, in my late teens and my early 20s, I think I was more interested in, it was healing and martial, and then it became healing, and then because I had all those problems, and then then it became martial again. And now it's not even really healing. Now it's more like understanding and quality of life. Because I'm approaching 50. I'm in my late 40s. I'm very
You're 29
close to-
now, so.
Yeah, and I see over the years for investing into the practice of Tai Chi how that has helped me so much. And I'm really a very mega type A personality, and that has kept me from going insane basically.
Right. Power through this.
So I can keep the good sides of that, but balance them out. So to me, I think it's like quality of life. When I don't mean quality of life like, oh yeah, my knee doesn't hurt anymore. I mean more than that, like an understanding and repairing my body and keeping myself healthy so that I can keep my mind really clear and do the things that I want to do, and also understand things better. So to me, it's that kind of
You
quality
seem
of
to
life.
me like you have this engagement with joy. Like
I guess,
it's
yeah.
not a stranger to you, like a delight in life.
Yeah.
Like, here I am, this again. This is great. You know what I mean?
Quality.
Yeah. That's
right.
when I hear you say quality of life, I
Yeah.
kind of feel like that's not lost on you.
But even when you have like a problem, or you go through deaths and things like this, I have a very, very small family. My parents my father's passed now, and my mother's getting up there. I have no siblings. I hardly any, I don't really know any cousins except for some in Germany, and I don't have really much family. I have no kids, nothing.
Yeah.
So to me, I'm really at peace with myself. I can be alone and I'm fine.
You're fine.
Because
Probably
I
better.
feel this connection, to nature and to things around me, and I know that I can really live through anything if I have to, any hardship or trouble.
Yeah.
So it's like this I don't know if I'd even call it confidence or inner strength, inner peace, but this quality of life.
Maybe like a trust in how this all fits for you.
Which is all to me part of quality of life. Yeah. Just really, that's what it's doing for me now. And I'd like to share that because I think so many other people could benefit from that in society. And when they get that, then they become one more healthier person in society, and they will influence from that that radius that they reach out to.
Yes.
They will influence people and so on and so on and so on.
And you get to see that through your students too over the years.
In a way, it's selfish. It's like I'm trying to, what I think would be great for society. I want to share that.
But if it's sincere and it's well reasoned, it is an urge of the human spirit to try and have this effect. So I think you're doing one of the good ones. So and maybe that counts against somebody that's trying to change things and they really are screwed together backwards.
Yeah.
So what is the basis of conflict?
The basis of conflict is, believe it or not, I'm going to say it's a four-dimensional world because resources are limited. one of the things. It's belief, and I think a lot of it is the nature of this third dimensional world, and the fact that we still have these animal aspects of ourselves. We perceive a resource, or we perceive a situation.
The resource can be time and space,
it can be
and
anything.
energy,
Time, space,
and obviously
money,
the soda
like shelter,
or whatever. Yeah.
Anything, right? So all of that, it all. But I think it all harkens back into that survival instinct, and I think because we are in a world that is it's very unlimited in many ways, but it's limited because of time.
Sure.
There's always going to
That's
be
the
water.
ultimate bound
There's always
of the whole thing. Yes.
Yeah, but maybe there's going to be a desert here. Maybe it's only for 1 million years, and then finally it's going to be fertile soil.
Unless you get your superpower.
Yeah.
And,
no conflict.
That's very good.
I like that. So,
see, you were thinking ahead. You knew these questions. That's great.
So I think it's that, really.
That's really good. I dig that.
And that's why focusing on things like the spirit, I think, helps that, because you're also lifting out of being stuck in
stuck in this three-dimensional resource and then clutch of the unknown. Right.
I believe in abundance, right? Let's be honest. If you got stranded on an island and there's only a couple of miles of water left, even if everyone there is all peace, love, and abundance,
right. At some point, you're running out of water.
There is going to be conflict.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. And we don't know what that conflict will look like, but it will happen.
Tomorrow is the rescue plane, and right now we have all the food and water we need and all the shelter.
Then you can do the peace, love thing, and that's fun. So one of the last questions is, what do you preach but not practice?
What do I preach but not practice? I think really I need to practice more myself. I talk a lot about how you should be doing Tai Chi and the everyday things, and then sometimes I even forget.
Right.
And I know that.
So when you say that, you're thinking like doing the form.
Or just like,
doing your
principles,
practice,
like how you're holding yourself, how you're drawing, and all those things. I think, yes, sometimes that really does bother me.
Yeah. So I asked that because, one, it humanizes the teachers.
It's true, yeah.
Because the teachers will tell you things, but they might not do them. And also, it allows the students to realize that if it's still good advice, I can take it, even if you're not doing it. The fact is, the advice is good. You don't do it, but thanks for the advice. And hearing that they don't do it and that they'll admit it is fine. Like, we're human. I don't do everything I ask my students to do, but I believe in the advice, and I understand what they're doing. I have done it. Now, just like you, I should do that more, and I should. But still, please take the advice. And that's really important.
And the nice thing is that you have to forgive yourself with that. And say, well, guess what? I can always go back to that. And I teach my students that. I say, you're gonna slip up. You're gonna. And you say, well, you know what? Sometimes I do this or whatever. And that's not to excuse you, but it's to let you know that that's your thing. Everyone has we all have our things, and then if we can acknowledge that and say, all right, but I know that, and that's part of me, so now what do I do? Now what am I going to do about it? What's next?
Completely makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so very much.
It was fun,
It's a blessing. Hopefully it came out.